Real successful people are the ones who don't even bother about obstacles because they know exactly what they want. Maxime Lagacé. And what do we want here at chartingwealth.com? To learn how to chart stocks and ETFs. That is to follow trends, trend lines, price percent oscillator, derivative oscillator, weekly vertical crossovers, 2-day recrosses. All of these things are important. And that is what we talk about 10 to 15 minutes every day as we follow the 4 charts that we look at constantly. They are the S&P 500, which is down a little bit for the day, the NASDAQ 100 up a little bit, bonds which are up, and gold which is way up. Now, let's jump into these charts. The S&P 500, like we said, down a little bit first day of this shortened week. We see, however, the average pace weekly candlestick shows the average pace is continuing to move up. These are Heiken Ashi candlesticks. We see the derivative oscillator, which we talked about being negative over the last week, is growing in its negativity. Now, the derivative oscillator typically shows us overbought and oversold conditions. It's a triple smooth version of the relative strength index with a little hint of the MACD. Of course, we look at the price percent oscillator, pretty much flat. And again, we will continue to watch and see how this shakes out. Down for the day, 0.26%. Now we go to the 2-day chart. First day of this latest 2-day candle. Consequently, we see a red open box spinning top, not a strong down candle. The derivative oscillator gaining momentum. Price percent oscillator, again, flat, just like we saw on the weekly. And we go to the 4-hour. That's we see down movement in the morning, bit of a recovery in the afternoon. Derivative oscillator, negative. Crossed over going down in the morning. So keep your eye on the S&P 500. Let's see how things shake out. The price percent oscillator again on that 2-day chart, flat. Weekly chart, flat. Negative on the 4-hour. So let's see which way these markets are going to go as this week progresses. Okay, we go from the S&P to the NASDAQ 100, the tech stocks up just barely 0.04%. And of course, again, starting the week off, we have a green candle, 135.17 is the high. 235.17, 234.93 the high in the prior week. So a higher high. Price percent oscillator is heading up. It's not quite flat. It is heading up. Derivative oscillator is still positive, losing momentum. Go to that 2-day chart. It's pretty much flat, a red open box candle, which is a slowdown in the up movement, still right there on the 2-day trend line, well above the weekly, is still going. Now, again, it's just the first day of the latest 2-day candle. 4-hour chart crossed over going down in the morning. And we see that we had a red, solid red down candle in the morning, bit of a recovery in the afternoon. That derivative oscillator is negative. So again, we'll continue to watch, see what there is to see here, and how stocks continue to shake their way out. But again, remember, we have the price percent oscillator heading up on that weekly chart. That 2-day chart, remember we had that recross and that jumping in point back on the 7th. Things are slowing down some, so continue to watch and see how things shake out at the end of the day on the 2-day candle. That was a recross and a jumping in point there. So keep your eye on the prize. We'll see how the cues continue to play for us. Now we leave stocks, go to bonds. And of course, remember, we had that weekly vertical crossover way back on the 31st, not that far back, the 31st of January. And we had a week of slowing down movement. We had this last week of some up movement, but again, not reaching a higher high than it did on the week ending the 7th of February. This week starting off with an up candle. And again, prices above the weekly trend line. And we go to our 2-day chart. What do we see there? We see, of course, that 2-day chart peaking up, the price percent oscillator heading up, derivative oscillator still losing downward momentum. Nice green up candle forming. So we'll continue to watch and pay attention, trying to find a way to redraw a 2-day trend line somehow, some way that might work that isn't just totally flat, well, that's good enough for right now. We'll see how this 2-day candle ends up drawing at the end of the day on Wednesday, but we do see that the price percent oscillator is heading up. Now, check out that 4-hour chart. How many of you all were paying attention to that and noticed we've been talking about it? Crossed over, going up in the morning, and went on up in the afternoon, although it did peak at 146.05 in the morning. Didn't get quite that high in the afternoon, but we did have a 4-hour crossover going up. How many of you found that and are practice trading it? So again, we'll watch, pay attention, see how that continues to develop and work for us. Lastly, we go to gold, up 1.28%. We had that vertical crossover on gold all the way back on the 10th of January. And gold has steadily, and again, back and forth some, but it has steadily, as it has rotated around, continued to move up. Price percent oscillator heading up, derivative oscillator still losing some momentum on that weekly chart. First day of the latest 2-day candle, trying to cross over, going up. We shall see what we shall see. Let's keep our eye on the 2-day candle on gold and just see if indeed it crosses over at the end of the day, going up, a recross on Wednesday. We'll see what happens. Hold our breath and watch. We go to the 4-hour chart. What do we see there? Crossed over, going up, of course, back on the morning of Thursday the 13th. Big up in the morning, and then more in the afternoon. That is where we are as we in the day on this shortened trading week after the President's Day holiday. Didn't get a chance to listen to our special Bitcoin training yesterday. Go back and check that out. Also, we started yesterday part 1 of our options training. Part 2 is in the show notes today. If you're not a subscriber, you're missing out. At least get part 3. Go to chartingwealth.com, put in your name, email address, and it's all free. And you'll get part 3, which is the key, most important part to get. Plus, you'll see at the end of that video the ability to listen to parts 1 and 2 and fill in all the blanks. If you hadn't purchased our book, we have a copy, an autographed copy for you. All you have to do is follow the link in the show notes. If you live overseas, email us cw@chartingwealth.com and we will get a copy out to you. We'll send you a PayPal invoice first, and then you pay that. We'll send you your book wherever you are in the world. If you're in the United States, follow the link in the show notes. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.